Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson and the Adahi Tano program. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime limited powertrain warranty. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurants, always open, always local, and serving up favorites for over 40 years.
Coming up on Prime Time, the governor along with her son are in isolation after testing positive for coronavirus. Plus, discussion and debate continues on the fiscal year 2021 budget as session resumes. And tonight, the governor's Physicians Advisory Group will discuss creating a team comprised of necessary professionals focusing on COVID hotspots.
Hafa-day and good evening. I'm Adriana Cotero. Adelup made the announcement late last night. Governor Lou Leon Guerrero has tested positive for the coronavirus, but she's not the only member of the first family to test positive.
We will continuously be working with them.
The governor first got word that a close relative tested positive for COVID last Thursday, although she and First Gentleman Jeff Cook tested negative. It was on Saturday she began exhibiting symptoms, and that evening another test returned positive. Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio on the link this morning.
We're continued to pray for the governor's recovery and the recovery of all of our residents who are currently fighting the infection.
Last night on social media, the governor's son, Bank of Guam president and CEO Joaquin Cook, also announced that he was among the 3 employees at their Hagåtña headquarters that tested positive for COVID. The Bank of Guam first informed the public about the positive cases last Friday. Cook said he was sharing his story to encourage others to remain vigilant in their daily activities to keep the virus at bay. He also encouraged others to share their story, to remind others to treat the pandemic seriously, saying, quote, "It is on each of us to take personal responsibility for our own actions, remaining diligent and safe in the process. Each one of us must do our best by simply wearing a mask, washing our hands, and keeping our distance. Even if protecting yourself is not enough, think about everyone else around you, your children, spouse, parents, brothers and sisters, friends, and those you work with." Cook, as well as the governor, are currently in isolation. Contact tracing in the meantime is underway at Adelup.
They'll be taking a look at all of the contacts of the governor. She did have a few public meetings. She swore in some board members on Friday, and so all of that will be comprehensively addressed by public health and following the strict protocols.
The lieutenant governor, along with acting chief of staff John Jr. Calvo, have been tested and the results were negative. The governor, in the meantime, remains in good health despite exhibiting moderate symptoms.
The governor is still able to exercise her authority. You know, she's has Zoom, she has the phone. We would only have a situation that occur in case she has to be absent. And then, of course, I naturally would take the reins. But, you know, we are a team and things are pretty much, other than the challenge that she has right now with her personal health, that's not going to impact our posture and our readiness to continue to lead our island.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Jonagan Charfris.
The latest data from the Guam COVID-19 situation report: 16 new cases of COVID-19 was reported out of 541 test samples. 9 cases tested positive at Public Health, 3 tested positive at American Medical Center, 3 tested positive at GMH, and 1 tested positive at DOD. These cases are under investigation. Of the new cases, 7 cases were identified through contact tracing. 4 cases had recent travel and were identified in a quarantine facility. To date, there have been a total of 434 COVID-19 cases, with 5 deaths, 104 active cases, 325 recovered, and there are 7 hospitalized. Of the 434 cases, 384 were civilian and 50 were military service members. The budget debate continued today at the legislature. Senators will be diving into the details of how much each line agency will get for the upcoming fiscal year. But before that, they talked about the critical issue of how much money they have to work with. Nestor LeConte reports.
I'd like to recognize that we have Mr. Byrne.
The governor's office and the legislature's Office of Finance and Budget are only about $7 million apart in their general fund revenue projections, $782 million versus $775 respectively. But there was still a heavy dose of skepticism in the Congress Hall about how realistic those numbers are given the plunge in business activity due to the COVID pandemic.
We are in a very dire state of fiscal fragility. we are on thin ice. Maybe not today because you got the stimulus and maybe there's a stimulus in sight. I'm talking about the mid to long-term recovery of the territory.
But Budget Director Lester Carlson says they've reviewed the variables and already dropped their original projection by $40 million. These are the numbers now, he says, and they're sticking to them.
You're asking me, do you stand by the fiscal 21 revenues as presented? I stand by firmly, Senator DeCastro, on BBMR's total general fund recommended levels of $781,697,305. I affirm, sir.
And Speaker Tina Muñoz-Barnes sought the same sort of reassurance from OFB Director Steve Guerrero.
This invisible war has literally taken a big effect on everybody around the world, but here for us, here in our small communities, how do we relate and how do we be fair and how do we continue to maintain the livelihood or the sustainability of us moving forward to be fair and not just take away, because if we take away, we're going to see our community hurt even more.
For now, everything's all right because you're employing, you're receiving federal funds. Federal funds is helping the bottom line as far as revenues are concerned. But once this whole thing comes to an end, there's no guarantee that we will continue to receive, at least generate the levels of revenues we're experiencing now.
Perhaps Guerrero summed it up best. For now, it's all assumptions, he said. We just got to make the best of it. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Meanwhile, the governor's office issued a news release today saying it has slashed the general fund deficit by almost half, from $83.4 million at the end of fiscal year 2018 to $47.8 million by the end of fiscal year 2019. The statement was apparently in response to recent public criticism from Republican Party officials. Asked about it during the budget session, Administration Director Edward Byrne explained it this way.
An increase in net assets of $30.1 million and a decrease in liabilities of $5.5 million. The increase in net assets are of two types. One is a slight increase in cash of $13 million, but the big increase was in receivables from outside of $11.5 million and from other funds of $14.5 million.
Adelup called it a surplus of $35.6 million, which it said was achieved in just 9 months through aggressive tax collections, maximizing federal funds, and strict fiscal discipline, including ongoing cost controls. But Adelup also notes that there's no actual surplus available for appropriation.
Paying down is really not a good way of demonstrating what happened. We reduced the deficit, and until we eliminate the deficit, it will always result in a change in net assets and net liabilities.
The final audited fiscal year 2019 financial statement has not yet been completed. The Governor's Physicians Advisory Group meets this evening, and according to Dr. Hao Win, on the agenda is a request for public health to create a special COVID strike force comprised of nurses, lab scientists, and contact tracers that would be deployed to hot sites, such as businesses or schools closed because of the virus.
They have a team that go out to the site and basically set up a tent or find a place there at the site that to test for all the close contact for that site. Just because we see a huge amount of surge on the people that go to the tier 2 and some of the tier 3 clinic. I tell you, with your current clinic setting, with the appointment, everything, and you have 100 plus people walk in to be tested, it's going to overwhelm the healthcare system in Guam a whole lot. All the clinics going to get burned out just because, on top of your regular patient every day, you will have, lines of car that go several blocks back. And that's what we've seen at FHB, SDA, and AMC. So those can be handled by public health, and we're going to ask them to see if they can do a strike team somehow to kind of alleviate the congestion.
According to Dr. Nguyen, during this evening's meeting, they plan to bring the idea up to the new public health director, Art San Augustine. The strike force would move the agency out of community testing and instead toward target testing. Many COVID-19 related instances have raised eyebrows and levels of anxiety. Most recently, Governor Leon Guerrero announcing she has tested positive for the virus. Keeping in mind all the uncertainty running through the island, the Guam Education Board was joined with members from the Department of Public Health, the Department of Public Works, and the Mayor's Council of Guam for today's special board meeting. The GEB agenda included the sole item of school readiness, Chairwoman Maria Gutierrez making it clear no other matters would be entertained. GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez presented that overall district-wide 62% of students will be staying at home this school year, having selected online or hard copy distance learning, and 38% chose the face-to-face learning option. Fernandez noted that as long as the island remains in P-Core 3, the department is authorized to proceed with allowing students to return on campus for the first day, August 17th. Additionally, he said throughout this week, PPE is being pushed out to all the schools, and in the event of a positive case, a written protocol is rolling out in the coming days. And now, just before news time, a motion was made by GEB member John Birch to push the start date back 1 week to August 24th to allow educators more time to prepare. The motion failed with a vote of 5-3. Meanwhile, more Catholic schools are welcoming students back onto campus. Academy of Our Lady of Guam, St. Francis Bishop Mumgartner Memorial Catholic Schools started the academic year yesterday, and KUAM stopped by Academy to check it out.
I was a little bit anxious considering, everything going on, making sure everyone stays safe and healthy, but at the same time excited to come back to school because it's like home for me. It's my second home.
Academy of Our Lady of Guam Principal Iris Gaza returns back to her second home, inviting students, faculty, and staff to join her on campus for the start of the school year. Prior to entering the doors, everyone is scanned for their temperature, and once permitted, they must maintain social distancing throughout the campus, explains Gaza.
Whether they're having lunch, walking in the hallways, as you can see, we have markers all over the school just to make sure that the girls know which direction to walk and also to keep that social distancing.
All classrooms are separated to have each student sitting 4 feet apart and have a second desk next to them for their bags. As for the cafeteria, lunch has been divided into 3 groups.
We have group lunch 1 and 2 for the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and then the freshman lunch for the first quarter. So it's actually 3 separate groups, and all the students have to face one direction during each lunch period. So before they even switch, there's a sanitization by the students of their own area before the next group comes in.
Academy has a population of 323 students, which have been split into 2 groups, A and B. Group A comes onto campus Monday and Wednesdays, and Group B on Tuesday and Thursday, with Friday being an at-home school day. Gaza says enrollment is lower than last school year, but considering the situation, she is happy with their numbers.
I think some of them have opted to do at-home learning or online learning with other educational institutions. And I think between that and some other issues, that might have been the reason behind the decrease. But at least our senior class have a 98% returning percentage of returns.
Noting the drop in new enrollees, Gaza says there are concerns amongst the public as a whole, but from the first day back in school, Academy students were happy to be reunited even under the new circumstances. For those in the Academy community who are experiencing anxiety, fear, or any uneasiness during this time, they have hired an additional school counselor and opened their prayer room with a social distance setup. Gaza says additionally they are looking into other opportunities such as having their chaplain come into school to sit with students for prayer services by grade level.
We recognize that it's not just about learning, it's also about the social and emotional aspects of being in school. So we are definitely considering all that.
A recent alert by the Centers for Disease Control that identifies Guam as a COVID hotspot stunned GVB Vice President Jerry Perez. Speaking on today's The Link multimedia show, Perez says they're taking a 2-track response. The governor has already written a letter to the CDC asking for a retraction, and GVB is working directly with our tourism source markets.
At the end of the day, that's what's going to drive a decision. We know that there's pent-up demand. We've done some intra-country surveys, both at the travel, trade, and institutional level, as well as the consumer level on our source markets. And there is overwhelming desire to travel to a nearby resort destination, which we're a part of, right?
The alert was posted about 5 days ago, and as of news time, it still showed Guam as a COVID-19 high-risk area and warns against non-essential travel here due to an increased risk for severe illness. And stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Taco Bell's new grilled cheese burrito is filled with nacho cheese sauce and a delicious 3-cheese blend. And even more melty cheese is grilled on top. Introducing Taco Bell's grilled cheese burrito box. Order ahead and pick yours up at our contactless drive-thru.
What does a brilliant cut mean to me? It means consistent quality. Right across the age expressions. We never compromise on quality and flavour.
It's also the very particular cut of spirit we take to fill our barrels. Tasting it today is just as exciting as the first time I tasted it. That is the brilliant cut.
While we've all been through a lot over the years, typhoons, earthquakes, and now COVID-19, we've been able to get through these together.
For more than 80 years, Travelers Insurance has been protecting your homes, your businesses,
And the health of your family.
We are here today and we'll be here tomorrow.
There are better days ahead. Tomorrow's a new day filled with hope and choices.
The possibilities of what we can achieve together are limitless.
Let's continue to work together to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all of us.
The southern end of Guam is the soul of Guam. It is beautiful, welcoming, proud, and protective of the true identity of Guam. Whomever visits Guam is told that they must go to Talafofo, Inalahan, Maleso, and Humata to see the real Guam. Whomever comes from Guam knows that they must go to these villages often to understand the nature of our past and the promise of our future. I am proud to have served this part of the island during my time at George Washington High School, and when I served as assistant principal at Inarahan Junior High, and when I represented the South on the elected school board. Huguaydza y kultura zan ifinotsamoro, ni mimit guthat winisiha na songsong. Ni ngayan na hu desprecia pati honra itauto isaw. Hamzo y corazon iman samoro. I'm Robert Underwood, and I approve this message.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Welcome back. Katner, Harry maintains his innocence and is going to go ahead with trial. Harry is accused for the homicide of 37-year-old Luciana Pauly in Toto. Pauly's body was found earlier this year in a field across from the Mighty Mobile Station by neighborhood children. Harry faces aggravated murder, and criminal sexual conduct as first-degree felonies, aggravated assault, and strangulation. His attorney, Pete Santos, told the court this morning that the defense has received an offer but are taking the matter to trial. Santos says they have received all discovery, and the court set a continued hearing for September 1st at 9 a.m. The Guam Election Commission continues to see a steady stream of in-office voting. GEC Executive Director Maria Pangilinan provides an update.
As of last week, we had 741 voters come in and do in-office absentee. As of yesterday, we had 75 more. So we broke 800 yesterday, and today, at this time, we have 54.
In-office voting continues until the day before the primary election, August 28th. She says they've made minor adjustments and have seen an increase in curbside service, especially for elders and those with conditions. They still have the same-day appointments available. They are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday through Friday, and on Saturday they are open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with the first hour reserved for Manamco and those with medical conditions. In regional news, CNMI officials are taking issue with the Center for Disease Control's designation of the islands as high risk for COVID-19 when some jurisdictions report low to no cases. CNMI Hospital CEO Esther Munoz says she and other public health officials from Guam, American Samoa, Palau, RMI, and FSM will meet with the Global Mitigation Task Force of CDC next week to discuss the categorization.
So to put us in high risk is really, even in their opinion, it doesn't seem right. But again, the factors that are utilized to determine that has to be, shared with us, and we will discuss that at the meeting.
She noted that health infrastructure is a major consideration. Saipan last documented community spread on June 3rd. In regional news, the CNMI Department of Labor facing major backlash after it gave notice that CW1 workers are not eligible for the PUA or FPUC after they were encouraged to apply. They now face claims of fraud and will have to pay back what they received. Our Tomas Manglotnia reports.
The CNMI Department of Labor issuing guidance for CNMI-only transitional workers, or CW1, stating that they are not eligible for PUA or FPUC. A wave of public outcry after many say they were misled, may be placed on a fraud list, and must return any amount received or be sanctioned. CNMI Governor Ralph Torres weighed in at a media briefing this morning.
Fortunately, we're hoping that CW would get an approval from our U.S. Congress, but there's non-assistance at this point.
The U.S. Department of Labor says CW1 workers are not considered, quote, qualified aliens. It's not clear how many CW workers out of about 10,000 applied in the NMI.
Unless it's a case-by-case basis, I don't think we should or anybody would claim an automatic fraudulent documentation simply because you have good intention and turning that in.
He explained that the CNMI must follow guidelines when it comes to federal funds.
So your question is, where do they turn to? I asked that they asked our U.S. Congress to have them included into the next batch or next relief or amendment to the relief program, because we don't have local funding to assist CW or even our local capacity here.
He says his door is open to work with Congress. Meanwhile, NMI Delegate Gregorio Sablan says the guidance is a bad decision. He added that it ignores PUA eligibility clauses in the CARES Act and is contrary to the law's intent. CNMI Labor Secretary Vicky Beneventi was not available for comment. For Guam's News Network, I'm Tomas Manglotnia.
Humanities Guahan is kicking off its 2020 grant cycle with a call for proposals for its community grant. They plan to award about 4 grants whose recipients will be named in October.
We encourage applicants to adapt their programs to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can see sort of how these programs can run in a socially distanced way. But they also have the whole year to run their programs.
They also invite applicants for up to $10,000 in matching funds for humanities programming with proposals due by September 29th and encourage applications for their CARES-funded relief grants. Those with questions can email bsantiago.humanitiesguahan.org. There is a workshop scheduled for August 29th. And tomorrow morning on The Link, we continue with our Decision 2020 interviews with the candidates running for senator and mayor. Joining Chris and Bree are Democrats Chris Carrillo, Joe San Augustine, Andy Santiago, and John Gumatautau. The election portion of the show is from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on The Breeze 93.9 FM. Coming up, in case you missed it this morning on The Link, we find out more about the box jellyfish advisory. Keep it here.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your 4th meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Mas.
My child, Econo, listen. The winds are singing. The ocean is roaring. And the trees are dancing. Our island is moving once again. In Afamolik, our unity has carried us through the stillness of today. And now, the spirit of Hafaday is yearning of our friends to come home.
Nana, is it time to bring all our friends back now?
Hungen, yes. It's time for the world to give us a moment together.
Enjoy the deliciously saucy McRib. Only for a limited time and only at McDonald's.
The legendary McRib is back. Pair it with fries and a drink for a limited time.
We have the power to improve the schools our kids learn in, the roads we drive on, the healthcare we receive, and the opportunities for more jobs. By responding to the 2020 census of Guam, we can uplift future generations by providing them with the resources they need to grow as a community. Together, we can make a difference. Respond today.
Welcome back. On Monday, an advisory was put out warning the community about box jellyfish. Joining Bree and Chris this morning with more information was Brent Tibbetts from Department of Agriculture's Division of Aquatic Wildlife Resources.
So Brent, you guys put out an advisory, box jellyfish. When are we anticipating that? We're going to pop up the pics. And could you just go ahead and just give us that advisory again and what people can expect, especially because so many are going to the beach?
Right. Well, box jellyfish show up around Guam on a relatively predictable schedule. It's based on moon phases, and the months of the summer, June, July, and August, are the busiest months, where they seem to be the most around, and it's when the highest likelihood of people getting stung. We had large numbers up and show up last month in July, and I heard of a couple of people being stung. One thing I like to emphasize is these are not deadly box jellyfish. It just can give a kind of a painful sting. But we expect them from the 11th, from today through Friday, the end of the week, especially in areas that have a shallow reef flat. So places like Tumon, PD, Pago Bay, Mariso are all places where they are fairly regularly seen, and those are places to kind of watch out for them.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask, and I know this is going to be stupid, but I've heard this that if you get stung by a jellyfish,
I think I know where this is going.
You should pee on it. Is that true, or is that just a myth?
Because my cousin got stung in the mouth one time, and let me tell you, my grandpa's remedy for it was I still can't unsee it.
Okay, I wish you didn't. Yeah. I didn't go there, but you.
I was stung across the face last year, and I was glad that my coworker knew that was not the proper treatment as well. I'll tell you.
Oh my goodness! So it's not true, because I tried windsurfing, and it's called windsurfing, right? And it was a bunch of people, and they were like, there was jellyfish in the water, and I had trained for it, did a couple of hours trying to figure out how to do this thing. So when we went out there, I saw the jellyfish, and I was like, oh, man, I don't know. But there were all these other windsurfers, and they're like, it's okay. You could do it. We'll just pee on it. Pee on you if you get stung. And I'm like, ain't nobody peeing on me. But, I still went.
Yeah.
So it's not true?
A little too R. Kelly for me.
It's not true?
Yeah. That is not true. It doesn't have any effect at all, except to humiliate you, probably.
I'm sorry, Bree.
The best treatment, the best thing to do, the first thing to do is actually, if you get stung, sometimes parts of tentacles break off and stick to you. Uh-huh. You want to remove any remaining tentacles. Use, a stick or something hard to scrape off tentacles that might still be stuck on you. And then flush it with salt water. And then vinegar. Apply vinegar is the best treatment for that. And then maybe some heat. Put some hot water on it or something warm. That can make it feel better. The vinegar will disable the stinging cells and stop it from continuing to sting you.
Right.
Yeah, but if you're at the beach.
You're right, Bree, but I had this happen in my family. We were at the beach. Someone got stung. We didn't have vinegar, but we had Finideni.
Well, probably that would be a good thing to apply in a pinch like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if if you're swimming at one of the public beaches with lifeguards, they have vinegar on hand, and they will use vinegar to treat any stings.
Nice. Put in your soup.
Generally also some heat, and then probably for the case, your favorite painkiller, if you take aspirin or Tylenol or something
Cannabis,
like that.
maybe.
Maybe a little bit of pain, but generally, when I was stung last year, I was stung by a man of war, but similar conditions. Within about a half hour or so, the pain generally subsides.
And you can watch the full interview right now on KUAM News' YouTube page. Keep it here. Your birthday shoutouts from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club is coming up.
As a kid, your dad always taught you new things. As an adult, he probably still does. Pedro just got his very first paycheck from his very first job. The only trouble is, he's not sure exactly how to deposit his check into his account. But Dad, as usual, knows exactly what to do. Using a Bank of Guam tutorial, Dad teaches Pedro how to access his money without ever stepping foot in the bank. There are many ways we can show our love, and teaching is one. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
It's our network that has enabled the digital society that we all work, study, and live in every day. In Guam and the CNMI, the network connects us to vital services like hospitals and emergency care. Through it, we disseminate vital information that keeps you up to date. I'd like you to all know that we're totally committed to the network, and especially in trying times like these, we are all better together.
Our biggest SUV, the Palisade, and our smallest SUV, the Venue. Remember, it's not the size of the dog in your adventure, but the size of the adventure in your dog. Big or small, it's better in a Hyundai SUV.
Billy likes sausage. Mom likes pepperoni. Winner. Both. Level up with 2 one-topping pizzas. Finish it. The Double It Box, only from Pizza Hut. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
And before we close out the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shoutouts from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
All right, happy birthday wishes going out to Jaylene Doris Ferreira. Happy birthday number 6 to my baby girl. Love Mom, Dad, Sissy, and the family. And happy birthday to Joseph Manto. Yo, the Manto. Cheers. Have a great one with lots of love from your family and friends. So to Jaylene and Joseph, we wish both of you the happiest birthday ever.
Remember, you can be part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online on KUAM.com. Please make sure to include with your photo your name and birthday. That's going to do it for us here on Prime Time. Thanks for watching. Have a good night and be safe.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here.